Hello, Lorenzo here. Welcome to episode 43 of Tylo and Eeloo, where we now have a wonderful orbital shipyard which we've been prattling on about for the past few episodes. First, this episode we're going to do some station maintenance, and then we're going to build a Minmus miner to perform a long-standing contract. First things first, I already shifted some resources. There's only some oxidizer left here. As you can see in the resource window here, we have quite a bit more oxidizer than we have liquid fuel. That's of course because we sent off a nuclear powered ship that only takes liquid fuel. Now we are going to be doing more of that in the future, so my prediction is that oxidizer will be somewhat of a abundant commodity, therefore I have no qualms about throwing away these 300 units. This is going to be the pusher ship that's going to, well, get rid of this bit of orbital waste, and it's gonna do so by pushing on it. It's not quite centered, so it's going to be a haphazard operation. Let's try and do that. So decoupling, and I should switch to that ship. We are rotating in the right way. Now I don't really care where we are going to go with this. It just needs to get away from the station, and then that will free up this docking port for an eventual expansion module, and it will, well, get rid of a few parts. Then we can bring the tug back and just hook it somewhere on the station for later use. So for now throttle is at 0. Let's activate this engine. It's already activated. Let's then slowly throttle up. And have the RCS wheel try and keep, well, not the RCS wheel, have the reaction wheel try and keep things steady. It's actually working surprisingly well. I suppose because an empty tank is actually quite light. Let's see, let's target this. Come on, please let me target the station before. We are now at 30 meters per second of relative speed. This will probably take this away for good. So, goodbye thing. Let's release. What? There's Kerbals in here? Holy shit, that's too dangerous. there wouldn't have had to be Kerbals in there. Alright, well, there are now. It's not a big deal because we're just gonna go back to the station. This was intended as a unmanned tugging operation. Right. Cool, well, to keep this episode length somewhat in check, I'm going to skip the re-approach procedure and just tell you what I'm going to do next. So see you back at the station. Here we go, back at the station and approaching it from a particularly beautiful angle, if I say so myself. I'm quite liking how this is shaping up. Now what I want to do next is to take these freighters and put them on their appropriate spot, like on the docking booms. But I'm not going to do that quite yet because, well, let's face it, it's not that important, and well, we have better things to do. I will probably do that before releasing the expansion module, just so that has a clear line of flight. And for now, let's work on cleanly attaching this claw thing. And when I say cleanly, I just mean that in such a way that it's not actually in the way. What, did I just hit something? My vector is a lot different than I thought it was, so I probably just hit something. Oh well, we'll clamp the tug here on this freighter. Doesn't really matter. And then we gotta find a home for these Kerbals, because they can't very well live in the tug. That's not okay. They can probably go live in the habitat. Although I wouldn't know how they would get in there. Can we do that through IVA? I think I read in the patch notes somewhere that you can now EVA Kerbals, put them somewhere without actually this is Lamalt, without actually having them go on EVA. You can transfer them from module to module without having them go on EVA, but I don't really know how to do that. So if any of you viewers knows that, please do feel free to share that nugget of info with me. For now, let's park this guy in the... Oh, let's park him in the shipyard, why not? I think I'm gonna have to go to the astronaut complex to see what kind of Kerbals these are, because I don't know how to tell whether this is a pilot, an engineer, or a scientist. And then I'm probably gonna write a list so that I don't forget. Okay, let's get the other guy from the tug on board. That's Rodgar. My god, there's so many Kerbals on board here. No wonder the supplies are slowly running out. And well, I suppose I'm gonna have to design some manned missions. And I could even have some of them return to the ground to collect their experience. Or not, I mean they're fine here. I think it's fair to say though that if something were to happen to this station, the whole space program would be screwed. Because all the experienced Kerbals will be up here and a lot of money investment, and well then, as I said, we'd just be screwed. Right, let's grab that. No. Didn't work out so well. Come on, get inside. Cool. Well, that's the space station rejiggered a little bit. Got rid of some debris. Is it away yet? I think it's away. Cool, so now I'm going back to the space center and I'm gonna design a driller for Minmus which can drill ore and return that to Kerbin, well to Kerbin orbit, because that's what our contract stipulates. And I'm gonna try and design something that can leave the drill base behind and can then just send a one-off pod to fulfill the contract. Let's call that the Minmus miner. Very creative, that's just what it's gonna do. And I will design that and show you what I came up with. Here we go, this is what I came up with, and it's a nice example of orbital manufacturing prowess, because this I would never launch from the planet, but hey, it looks cool, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna put the tanks a little bit further down for center of mass reasons, and also because that way I can still dock somewhere. These solar panels, they seem to be, they seem like they would be problematic as well. I'm gonna put them somewhere else. I'm gonna put them on top of the landing struts. Yeah, I can probably do that. If I retract these now, yeah, that's gonna interfere with the solar panels. So where to put the solar panels? On the batteries? I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, let's put them there. Only 4. So we're gonna build this only next to the batteries, alright. This is a ore detector, by the way. We are going to build this, and we are going to pick out an engineer to crew it. And the good thing is it's not that heavy. It will cost us 2,000 rocket parts, and we just have that. So save it, exit here. Now we gotta find an engineer that's on the shipyard. Of course we can't send Kenlan because then the shipyard becomes incapacitated. He is never allowed off that shipyard ever again. 7 people on there, oh my god. Lemald Kerman. Engineer. Or Bill. Well, it's gonna be Lemald. And I think we need more engineers. Just because we need more engineers to get stars. So I think in the future we're gonna send Lemald and probably Bill on like a star tour as well, and get them trained up a bit. Yeah. For now though, let's visit the future and build that Minmus miner. Also, I discovered I'm a complete idiot. The future lander? No. What's this? Oh, this is the debris bit. Let's see if we can reclassify that into debris. I don't think I will be able to do that. Alright, this is now a lander. Great. Is it gonna approach? Oh shit. This is gonna approach really close to the station, like 100 meters. Wow. We may have to send someone out there to deal with that. Or not. We can tempt fate. Right. Let's build it. Let's build the... what did I call it? The Minmus miner. Boom. What I could do is tally the costs that I'm saving while building these things in orbit versus the cost of the supply launch, which was 160 grand. but I didn't do that, so can't do it now. Okay, this is done in 2 days. I think that's short enough to well, keeping an eye on this fake lander and see if we are actually going to hit that. Actually, it appears to not be happening. Alright. I don't know why the game then told me that it would. Also, it is now definitely, this does take a lot longer than I thought. So I'm going to switch to the Space Center. And you know what? I'm going to stop the video. Recheck who was the engineer because I forgot. The engineer Lemald is going with the miner. And I'll just show you the video when we are launching the thing. Why not? So here we are in orbit with the shipyard and the new ship. And we are not actually allowed to put a pilot in here through this screen. So we're gonna have to do that through here. Lemald, come on, EVA, you big man. Let go. Did I say already that I really like this orbital shipyard and this way of launching ships? I think I did. Cuts down on the launches from Kerbin as well, and well, I've done a fair amount, I think over 1,000 of them, so this is a nice way to exploit space. Again, no reaction control system, so we're gonna scorch the ship a bit. There is a small problem. I didn't pack any supplies on this mission, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on the mission timer, and if that exceeds 15 days, Lemald will go on hunger strike. Not that big of a problem because, well, Minmus isn't that far away. We can relatively easily, I don't know, just go there and send some supplies. But it will be better if we don't have to do that. So let's try a maneuver node. Let's try a maneuver node at the descending node, because the inclination is of course a thing. Target position at closest approach. So we are going to do the same move, but then we're gonna aim for there. And then halfway en route we're going to tweak our inclination, which is gonna be here. 700 meters per second. We're gonna wait half an hour. So that's already half an hour of supplies wasted. We could have clung on to the station for that time. Oh well, that's life. Let's time warp over there. So we're again gonna have the same problem where we now skip out of the simulation sphere of the future and then boost straight back into it, maybe. So our frames per second should experience a jump now, yeah, and everything is smooth again, sort of. Cool. While it's not that comfortable to have like the very low frames per second, it's not insurmountable. Oh, I didn't bring an SAS module apparently, got the wrong stabilizer. Oh well, I'm gonna have to fly it myself. That's fine. Alright, so I will do a Minmus and counter approach and then check back into you when we're landed. This is routine stuff. And even though this ship, I'm really liking it. It's so thrown together. It's a very spacer design. I will show you when we're there. Boom! And just like that, we are in orbit of Minmus, and we have a problem. Well, first problem is we didn't expand our solar panels, but that's not really a problem. We can do that now. No, there is a bigger problem, and I'll give you a few seconds to work it out. What could the problem be? Is it the drills? No, the drills are fine. Is it the landing legs? The landing legs are also fine. Containers accidentally full of stowaways? No, containers are empty and ready to receive ore. The problem is, of course, fuel. Where I'm usually quite good at estimating delta V and what a mission requires, this time I've done it completely wrong. We are now in orbit of Minmus, a rather tight orbit. That's all good. 20 kilometers is actually pretty low. let's see if we cannot boost that out a little bit. 20 doesn't seem very safe. We don't do that by burning prograde. We go like this, 33 by 121. That sounds good. Right, so our orbit is a little bit... No, our orbit is fine. Our fuel reserves are not. We probably have enough to land, but then we won't be able to take off again. Because, of course, one thing I didn't count on was that we would be heavier on the way back rather than lighter. So yeah, that's not great. We have a magnetometer here that scans for metal ore. We are actually prospecting for ore, so this may be useless. Anyway, we are not quite going to land yet. I have to get a hang of this scanning stuff. But it doesn't really matter because we have time warp, so if you land in a very poor environment, you just wait for a little bit longer. Now, what I'm going to do to fix this is I'm going to send more hardware out to Minmus. Now, the quick fix would of course be to just send some fuel to make this work. But what I'm instead going to do is I'm going to make an orbital refinery that will remain in orbit here and can then actually process this ore into fuel. And then we have this thing can then stay here as well, as long as also together with Lemalt, the Kerbin engineer, and then we have a Minmus fuel depot. Isn't that nice? I think that's nice. So I'm going to pop over to the vehicle assembly building and build that. Now our mission timer is already at 8 days, so that does mean that Lemalt will go on strike for a bit. That also means we have to bring supplies on that mission. All of that is not a problem. So let's go to the vehicle assembly building and get cracking. Now I hope I can build that for an amount that is still available in the orbital shipyard, because if not, then well, we're gonna have to send a refueling thing up there first, and then everything will escalate. But first I will come up with something and I'll show you then as before. Right, this is what I came up with. It will probably deplete the last of the rocket parts and, more importantly, the fuel of the station, but I can then later make fuel tankers that will, well, grab lots of ore, process it here, process it at Minmus, and then ferry it back to the station. That seems like an interesting course of action, I think. So let's head on. So I went to the shipyard and put it in production, and coincidentally, as soon as it finishes, we can also visit the Icarus spaceship and see if that is actually capable of collecting some carborundorum. So actually let's go there now, because that's only 1 day away from its periapsis. Now put on your sunglasses, because this is going to be bright. What's big sunshine? Let's deploy the collector and turn around to face that nuclear furnace. And well, hey, if we actually manage to collect some, that'll be wonderful. We're traveling at 30 kilometers per second, pretty quickly. Nothing to collect here. I fear the worst. This is probably not going to work out. Anyway, we can nicely obscure the sun, so we don't actually need the sunglasses so much. Oh, what? This is all overheating incredibly quickly. Probably because it's so near the sun. That could be a problem. I'm gonna say that probably is a problem. Why the batteries and the flow of power is blocked. Let's try and fix this. Retract the collector. Let's see if we can actually save the ship, or that it is going to inevitably explode. Maybe we can return some science. Now this still counts as high over the sun. That's probably the problem. These are the undeployable type of solar panels. Well, let's time warp forwards 2 more hours and see if any of this is actually going to explode. The heat radiators are doing their job, or not really, because everything else is exploding apart from these radiators. The question is, of course, does this temperature stabilize at some point, or does it not? But it doesn't really matter, because, well, we have established that this is not going to collect any carborundorum. Well, we're technically a little bit closer to the sun now, so we can try again. Nothing to collect. So we'll just retract that and leave this. We can remove the alarm. This was a nice experiment, but it's not gonna get close enough to the sun. We can try this again with A, more fuel, and B, by first launching it out to an altitude comparable to Joule and then dropping it back down. This will take longer, but it will be much more fuel efficient. Although, if I'm reading these heat levels right, it could be very hard to drop something that close to the sun. Probably Eeloo and Tylo are better options for mining carborundum. Anyway, we have the processor to attend to. We shall fly that out to Minmus, and well, then if that works out, then by accident we'll have established our first orbital fuel processing facility around another planet as well. Of course, this is small, but then we can always fly more stuff towards there. Well, let's fill it up with, well, not all the supplies. Actually, maybe we should bring all the supplies, because this guy is gonna live out there for a while, and he doesn't have any food. Yeah, we're gonna bring all the supplies. Release. It's easy to resupply supplies to this bit, but not so easy to, well, take that to Minmus. We have RCS, so no shipyard scratching stuff. This is fairly straightforward. This is the big important module. This is the fuel tank, and the rest is power, radiators, batteries, and docking ports. So I'm going to fly that to Minmus and meet up with our engineer over there, and I'll see you when that happens. So we're there. We are orbiting Minmus at 7.2 meters per second, far enough out so that I won't be able to find it. This was the product of some botched lunar intercepts and transfers and fixers, also the reason why our fuel tank is a little bit more empty than it should be. And I want you to have a look at this wonderful encounter. Look at that, we are on a collision course, and we're gonna come within 11 kilometers of the Minmus miner, which we're just gonna accept, and we shall then... Oh wait, are we... Oh, that doesn't work. We're going the other way of the equation. I was gonna say we're just gonna then immediately fix it with copious amounts of rocket thrust, but hey, we're heading this way, not that way. So let's see if we can make an encounter here. I'm just thrusting with RCS now. That's the minimal amount of stuff that's gonna happen. This also works out fairly well. I mean, considering how different these orbits are. 36 kilometers? Yeah, I'll deal with that. And as a bonus, we're also actually in orbit, so that's a little bit safer. I've checked with the Minmus miner, and Lemalt Kerbin already refuses to work, just because he's been deprived of supplies for too long. But I have added a supply container here with a double docking port, so we can dock with this, and then this can stay with the miner forever. And then the remainder of the fuel from this processor is gonna have to be fed into the miner so he can land on Minmus, return to the processor, and then make more fuel, yay! And then he can return to Minmus again and mine the ore that is required for a return to Kerbin orbit. Now, as per the contract, we only need to put this ore in orbit of Kerbin. We don't actually need to then do something with it. So we'll just dangle it over the planet for a while and then use it for our own devices, which is processing it into fuel. Sounds like a plan, I think. Alright, so we are now about ready to intercept the Minmus miner. It's floating over there. It's now 41 kilometers away, with a relative speed of, well, 100 meters per second. So let's burn our engine and zero that out. We have on this resource processor a copious amount of fuel. And as the whole purpose of this mission is, well, it actually became that due to the failure I did of not bringing enough fuel in the first place to have a functioning fuel refinery station set up. I feel justified in just burning all the fuel I want to achieve a quick rendezvous. Now, the miner is small compared to this processor. It will take about 170 units of fuel, so as long as we save that, we should be fine. How does our encounter look now? This will come within 0.3 kilometers. That's wonderful. Let's see. Here we are, approaching the striking miner. How are we doing on monopropellant? The beautiful thing is that as soon as we attach ore to this can make monopropellant fuel everything. I'm considering what to do. Whether to... I think I'm gonna have a separate fuel station here around Minmus, which we can expand upon, of course, with these docking ports. I should have added more docking ports just for that purpose. I might ship out a big ring of tanks and ore containers and a larger miner, but one step at a time. This is what we could build on short notice. Don't want to let Le Mans wait for too long. Oh, whoopsie. Full thrust now to reduce that relative velocity. It's still fairly quick, but this big engine performs beautifully. It was a bit of a mass penalty. It weighs about almost 2 tons, but it's efficient at 350 seconds of specific impulse, and it's powerful, so that's luxury. Alright, we're gonna have to approach the miner. We are doing so at 18 meters per second. Ooh, I should turn around and slow down because this is happening. It's all happening so fast. It's like a horrible relationship. Alright, stop it. 70 meters. Now, one little snag is that I, of course, won't be able to actually control the miner because, well, he's refusing to work. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to fly around it because I'm coming in at the wrong attitude. Well, I'll just do that. Let's have a look at our monopropellant. This is still good. Let's see. Let's RCS that a bit closer. Stop. Relative 0. Alright, arrest that rotation. Forwards. Alright, I'll cut the video for a bit whilst I maneuver around this spaceship. See you when I'm approaching the docking port. And there we are, sort of approaching the docking port. I didn't balance the RCS thrusters properly on this ship because the refinery unit doesn't want to have RCS units put on it. But hey, look at that. Le Mans Kerbin has returned to duty. Hooray for that. Right, let's pump some fuel into this. And then we shouldn't forget to keep the snack canister attached. Because of course that's important stuff. The refinery cannot really do anything yet because obviously it doesn't have any ore yet. That's Le Mans' job to go and get that now. Right, his ship is full of fuel now, so we can decouple this here. Alright, Le Mans, you're up. Let's get away from the refinery. Let's actually retract the legs. Why are they expanded? I don't know why, they just always were. I think because it was built in orbit and they don't know what grounds look like. Oh well. Orbital speed. Let's head for a landing. We have so much fuel now and we suddenly gained the capacity to make new fuel that I'm tempted to just pile drive straight down here. I mean, it's 100 kilometers to go. What happens if we just fall that distance? How long will it actually take? Is it gonna take long at all? I feel it's very important that we actually land in the sunlight, and this is gonna happen this way. I can of course steer towards more sunlight because the Minmus... Oh, what I could have done, what I should have done, is to move the refinery and lander combination a little bit more towards the towards a lower orbit. But hey, I didn't do that. And I shouldn't be too frivolous with the fuel, because of course I do have to in fact get back into space with a cargo hold full of ore. So no more dicking around, let's now in fact make a nice and tidy landing. Let's see, where are we projected to land? In the middle of the mountains, that's nice. We'll see how that works out, if it does work out. Maybe we can land in that cubby hole. And if it doesn't, well, then we can always fire our engine and land somewhere else. That flat bit seems to be a good landing zone, but hey, we intentionally forewent that for this spot. Where are we going now? Still on those mountains. Hey, it will save us like 1 unit of fuel in the ascent because we are coming from a slightly higher spot. Okay. Rewind. This seems like a patently bad idea. I can aim for that plateau maybe. If I can get this spacecraft under control at all. Yeah, let's aim for that big high plateau. It's a mountain that will be rich in resources, maybe. We will require a slightly higher altitude. Mission planning in order to choose a landing site was not in the book of this Kerbal. Alright, I said something about mission plans, but I just got a rather long phone call, so that sentence, I don't know how to go on with that. Anyway, it seems as though we're heading towards the ground at a rather quick velocity, so let's try and fix that, shall we? Burning retrograde, aiming to land on the platform. Yelling out status reports. I think that's something they only do in sci-fi shows, where like they're on the bridge of the starship and they're hit by weapons, and then someone will yell, "Firing weapons! Shields at 20%." Well, the shield warnings would be appropriate because the captain would need to know that. But the fact that you're scanning the ship to lock your weapons to fire them, I assume that that's just your job as a tactical officer, and everyone will assume that you did that. Maybe I'm wrong. Right on, landing. Boom, boom, boom. We're looking good on fuel now that this thing has been repurposed as a transporter from to and from Minmus orbit only. One thing I haven't considered is the weight of ore. I don't know how heavy it's gonna be. And I don't have a mechanism for jettisoning any. At least I don't think you can do that. You cannot open like the bottom of this container and drop all the ore out of it. So if it turns out to be really heavy, we may have a problem. Then again, the delta V requirement to get into orbit is so low that we can probably get into a low orbit and have the processor come and meet us. Maybe that's not a bad idea after all. Then we have both of them in a low orbit. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put the processor in a very low orbit after mining here, and then, well, and then just flying this thing up to a low orbit will reduce fuel requirements. Obviously, to make a viable long-term ore mining and fuel processing setup, we're gonna need a bigger harvester with like many drills, lots of tanks, a big ass engine, and rest assured we will make that. Because we can do it like this, but that will mean like 1,000,000 trips to fuel a big vessel. And I think these are unwittingly the steps we need to colonize Tylo and Eeloo, because this way we will have easy access to fuel in orbit of Minmus, which is a low gravity well. We'll have manufacturing capacities around Kerbin, which is easy to resupply with rocket parts. And for now, I think turning ore into rocket parts, hey, maybe we can do that as well, just here on Minmus. And then all we have to do is strap an engine to the orbital shipyard again and just move it around Minmus here. And then the only resource that needs to come from Kerbin is food and Kerbals. Food for thought, that is. Could be interesting. But for now, let's focus on this ore lander. 2 meters per second, everything seems to be fine and dandy. Notice how I made the lander legs really wide to allow for an easy landing. Look how easy that landing was. Alright, let's shut down the engine so that errant keystrokes don't harm us. Let's scan for... well, metal ores is at 6%, that's not a lot. We're at the highlands. Did we by any chance not have a crew report yet from here? Hey, 25 science. No comms devices. Oh well. This guy is not gonna leave here anytime soon, so that's quite useless. Anyway, we'll deploy the drill. Deploy this drill as well, and we'll see what we missed in designing this. Start the surface harvester. Oh god, that's like a very low amount of ore. How are we doing on electric charge? That's depleting. So yeah, this is not the most ideal situation. Then again, we are harvesting ore, and I think the big thing about these harvesters was that they continue to function while there was no focus on the ship. So we're going to test that out. We're now at like half a unit of ore. We're going to switch back to the Minmus miner probe and put that in a lower orbit over the mining area, and then we'll switch back and see whether whether we have actually mined some ore. Where are we going? We are currently decreasing our altitude. We're heading towards periapsis. We need to do a maneuver node here. Alright. 20 is too... 32 is fine. This thing of course does have some fuel remaining because it has a big fuel tank on it. Coincidentally, there is no fuel left in the space station. But then again, then we needed a resupply mission anyway, and the money we're gonna get from this mining contract, if I recall, it's 600,000. That will allow us to design a nice and proper resupply mission for the future space station. And well, we did a resupply mission like a few episodes ago, and that has provided us with like I think 7 launches or 5, or at least lots of things to do. So I think the shipyard is doing a good job in enhancing the launches to interesting stuff ratio of this series. And I'm happy with that. Alright. Now let's reduce orbit here. 7 kilometers is definitely unsafe. What's our apoapsis at the moment? It's already 36, so this is actually perfectly fine. So let's switch back to the Minmus miner, and we're hoping to see 2 things. 1, no explosions, and 2, more ore in the tanks. Yeah, it has unfocused ore mining. Now that's actually cheating because that now I don't have to manage the electric charge. But the ratio isn't that horrible. We can simulate that it mines for an hour and then recharges for 3. That's actually fine. So this will just happily mine away in the background. It has insufficient power now, so let's stop them. It has enough power to operate. No, it doesn't have enough power to operate either one of them. So the big one is gonna need a nuclear reactor, a big one. And the way I envision it is just have a stationary mining compound with a mobile ferry thing. Yeah, just have a ground base that makes fuel where unmanned pods can land on top of it, pump up the fuel, and then take that into orbit. When that's gonna happen, I don't know, but it's a nice vision. Alright, so we have this thing. This is happening. We need to switch. We need to do something else while it mines. And we need to have them running while I leave them. I think that's important to the continuance of the mining program. So, start this one, and start this one. And now we're gonna switch to the probe Eeloo to fix that. That will take 25 days. Let's see, is the encounter still set? It is. That will be 25 days in the future, and that will do a good number on our mining. Well, I'll do the time warp and then check back into you once we're in the sphere of influence of Bob. That would be fair, I think. Right on, we're getting close. Now remember, the goal of this probe that's actually been en route for almost 4 years is to land on Bob. Now that's hugely ambitious. It has 74 units of fuel remaining, so we may not do it, but as long as we get science, and I think we will be able to establish orbit around Bob, although our orbit is quite a long way from matching up with Bob's. we're gonna transmit science, and I think we're gonna establish orbit, and then maybe we can land. Keep in mind that this thing doesn't even have landing legs, so that's gonna be a tough landing. It does have a separator here. I wonder why. This is the product of, well, space engineers that are retired now, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, a new simulation body has been unlocked. Cool. Alright, let's get into orbit. Oh, this is frightening. This is gonna be a lot of delta V. A kilometer per second. I wonder, there's really nothing on this thing, so hey, it may surprise us, it may actually do it. But then again, it also may not. There is another problem. We can return science once, because this only has a goo contain as a materials base. So we're not gonna finish the contract. No way, because we need to return science from space. We need to establish orbit, and we need to land. So what we will do is we will get in the best position we can, and then just return the science. We will get some money, but we'll still need to send a probe to Bob at some point. I'll probably do that after we unlock ion engines, because then, well, we have a lot of delta V at our disposal. Here we go. The last engine burn of this ancient probe. Will it vanish unceremoniously into interplanetary darkness, or will it maintain orbit around Bob forever? Can we actually see Bob? Is it too small, too far away? It's too far away. Alright, here we go. Full thrust. Is that gonna make the kilometer per second that is required? I think a landing is definitely out of the question. But actually, an orbit might not be. I'm going to be optimistic and say we are going to make orbit around Bob. And then we are going to land on it. We could maybe land on it. I mean, it is so tiny. Boom! Orbit established. I think. Did we just get it? Orbit around Bob. To 60,000 credits. Cool. Let's get into a really low orbit, like a 10 kilometer orbit. Let's see the speed a 10 kilometer orbit is at. And then decide whether we're gonna try for a landing with this ancient piece of hardware. Oh look, that's probably Bob. That rock that blots out the sun. Oh yeah, that's it. And after that, I'm really gonna have to stop recording this episode because my jaw is hurting so much. Now you're probably wondering, like, why the hell is this guy's jaw hurting in every single episode for the past 100 weeks? It's because I recorded all these episodes in like 2-3 days when I was really hurting and not working and being miserable at home. But then I decided to not all put them online at once, so that you can have a measured stream of new videos. So hopefully by now that you're watching this video, I'll be long healthy. But I'm really hoping that. I'm not sure about that at all, because actually no one knows why my jaw is hurting so horribly. I had the doctors look at it and they say, well, it's healing fine, everything is as we would expect it to be. We don't know why you're feeling so horrible. Here's some painkillers though. Good luck with that. Bye. So yeah, that's the story. In talking, I missed the maneuver node. Not to worry though. We can probably do the burn here. So that's a 19 kilometer periapsis. Now before we're gonna do this, I'm going to send the science, because there is a good chance that there is a very good chance that we're gonna hit a mountain or something. Let's see if we can land this. That would be awesome. That's like one of the first things we launched. And then we're just gonna land that on a celestial body that's like completely on the other side of the solar system from where it was designed to go, which was Eeloo. Oh, what? We almost depleted the electric. Oh, we almost depleted the electric charge from the Stay Putnik Mark 1. We got more cash? Yeah, another 60 grand. So if we manage to land now, that's actually pretty horrible, because then we have all but one of the things, and we'll need to send a whole new probe to do it. Or we can go radical and send a manned mission that will reset the module. That would be fun as well. Alright, we cannot warp faster than one time. Well, we can warp physically. That will actually mean that this is going to take quite a long time. So I'm going to wait out this minute, and I will resume the video once we're in the daylight again. So see you then. Right, so that was a long 10 minutes of waiting with physical time warp only. Here's the situation. We're in orbit around Bob. We have fuel remaining, 16.59 units of it to be exact, and we are at 172 meters per second at 19 kilometers of altitude. We're gonna land or crash. One of two things. Here we go. So I think that will put us on a landing course. And we are going to, of course, be maximum suicidal in this landing, as we now have 13 units remaining. And we have some physical time warping ahead of us as well. How long will this take? 2 minutes. At times 4, that's about 30 seconds. We can deal with that. Now I'm gonna try and slow down at the last possible second, obviously, because we don't have the luxury of fuel. But seeing how quickly this now accelerates and how little mass there actually is to lug around, I think we're actually gonna pull it off. I think I have leeway to get rid of this speed and hover for a few seconds. It's not the most luxurious launch, that's for sure, but I think we'll manage. I think we'll do it, and I think it's I'll be very happy with it. It's a nice achievement to land something this old and crude on a completely ad hoc target like this. That tickles my storytelling center in the brain, where a group of intrepid mission controllers got together, repurposed some old hardware, and did something cool with it. I do wish it wouldn't take so incredibly long though. The gravity here is not helping, which of course is the reason that it's actually working at all, but still. I can tell you the story about IC3, the International Sun-Earth Explorer. That's a probe that was launched in the 80s or even the late 70s and came back around to visit Earth in, well, last year. It was originally shut down by NASA, but then they discovered that it was happily transmitting and wasn't actually shut down at all. And it was functioning pretty much fine. NASA didn't have the old transmitter anymore and wasn't really interested in reviving the probe, even though it was still functioning and had fuel on board. So what happened is that a group of amateur radio people got together, got some space at the Arecibo telescope, the big one in Puerto Rico, I think it was, and they reverse engineered, with help from NASA, just unofficially and non-financed, they actually sent commands to the probe and controlled it. They fired its engines to do spin stabilization, and they wanted to sling it around the moon to send it on a new trajectory, but then the engines did fail. Something with the fuel system probably. That was really cool. That was the first time a private organization controlled the spacecraft in interplanetary space, even though it was not their own. So they were space pirates as well as mavericks. And we are now torpedoing to Bob. I think it's time to ignite the suicide burn. Ooh, that was too early even. This engine is powerful. Boom, we have 9 units of fuel left, so that only burned 3 units. I think, as I said before, we're gonna make it. Let's switch this to surface mode, even though it really doesn't make a difference here. Okay, we have leeway then. Let's reduce that to 10 meters per second. Now we can't really do anything after we land here. This is purely for kicks. We're gonna just touch down as slow as we can, and then I think it's gonna fall over and probably explode. Although the gravity is so weak, maybe it won't explode. And then we have a reaction wheel, so maybe we can roll it around the surface a little bit. Although that will of course increase the risks of explosions. How are we on fuel? We have 7 units, that's the world. Not many spacecraft can land on 7 units of fuel, but this probe Eeloo, we have successfully reverse engineered its software to trick it that this low gravity space rock is in fact Eeloo. And it's very happy to be coming home. Its new home where it will forever stay. Let's see, we're gonna need a very slow touchdown speed, like 1 meter per second. If we can balance it on the engine like a totem, that would be cool. So here we have 1.5. Hey, look at that, we are actually accelerating towards the ground. Is there still fuel? 6 units. Oh, we were stationary for a second. The engine is too powerful, even at the minimal setting, it's accelerating upward. Oh, we got the contract, we landed at Bob. Isn't that nice? Alright, we are on the surface. Now can we stand here? Hands off the controls. Hands off the controls. I think we're standing on Bob. I think it's fair to say that we did that. We got 120 grand for it. So someone's convinced that we did it, and now if only we could transmit more data. Oh man, if only we could. But then again, if there was another experiment and we didn't have the lightweight experiments when this was built, the fuel would have never lasted. 5 units, we can probably even make a hop to a second location, do a double landing. But we're not gonna do that, we're gonna shut down the engine and leave this totem as a testament to rocket ingenuity. Great! And this, more importantly, gave us money for the resupply mission to the station, which we will sorely need in the next episode, I think. Seeing as to how this episode is, I think, longer than an hour already. Thanks for watching all the way, by the way. I'm glad that you find me so interesting that you'd rather watch this than a feature-length movie, and in retrospect I hope you still did. Let's have a quick look at the Minimus Miner and see how that did in the month that we spent approaching and landing on Bob. You have extracted 100. Oh, what? It's giving us pointers on how much of the contract we did. Great. So we can stop the drill. And we are full of ore. This is wonderful. In the next episode we will return this nightly ore to the processor in orbit and turn it into fuel and contract money. For now, I'm Lorenzo. Thanks for watching. See you next time and have a nice day and week and month and year and life. Bye.